We have Dave Zangaro from NBC Sports Philadelphia. How you doing, Dave?
Oh, doing well, guys. How are you?
Good. Well, the Eagles are starting to fill in some holes, right? What is the timeline for these holes to be completely filled where they can move on to the draft?
Yeah, I think it's all about making sure you have enough pieces in place where you don't feel like you have to stretch for need in the draft. I think that's kind of the key. None of these signings are like big splash signings, and we didn't expect them to have big splash signings. But it's all about just making sure you take care of some of these needs so that when you get to the draft, you don't reach. Like the classic example, of course, is the Marcus Smith year, right? Like you don't have a defensive end, you need a defensive end, you draft a defensive end. That's where you end up getting yourself in trouble. So it's just about trying to fill those holes up so you don't feel that pressure once you get to April.
Dave, obviously, aside from C.J. Gardner-Johnson, you and I haven't had a chance to talk about this, but are there any other free agent departures that surprised you?
No. I mean, that was obviously a surprising move. I think we all knew Milton Williams and Josh Sweat were going to get paid, so that didn't surprise me at all. The C.J. thing obviously was kind of the shock of the offseason. Everyone else, we knew they weren't going to be able to pay Milton or
Slay
or Josh or Slay. I mean, Rodgers is maybe Oren Burks is a little bit of a surprise just because the contract wasn't super prohibitive. It was a 2-year, $5 million contract. But once you see all these moves together, there's a clear theme, right? It's we're not going to pay for veterans. We're going to get younger. Right or wrong, that's clearly been the theme of this offseason. So if they would have signed one of those guys, it kind of goes against that theme. I think Burks is the one that I would have been interested in signing just because it wasn't super prohibitive given that contract, and you don't know when the Kobe Dean is going to be back. But I certainly understand what they're doing, and they're showing some faith in a young player like Jeremiah Trotter Jr.
All right, when you look at this defense and all the holes that this has created, how big of an impact does Vic Fangio have on this defense now?
Yeah, it's huge because, it's one thing to have young players. It's one thing to have talented young players, but that means nothing if you can't develop them. And I think back to the 2023 season, they're coming off the Super Bowl, and they just didn't have the coaching staff in place to be able to develop young talent. Now, they didn't play a lot of young talent that year, but even if they had, I don't think the results would have been great. Think about that year, right? You had Jonathan Gannon leaves late, and then you end up settling for Sean Desai. Then Nick Rollis leaves with Gannon. You end up with DJ Elliott as your linebackers coach. Denard Wilson leaves. When you don't hire him, you promote DK McDonald. And all of a sudden, this defensive coaching staff was just ill-equipped to really do much. I mean, the on-field product wasn't good, and I don't think they were developing the young talent. Whereas this year, I think it is different. You look at and the good thing is the whole staff on defense is coming back this year, and they've already proven they can develop young talent. We saw it last year. Every single young player who played in 2024 got better as the season went on. So that doesn't mean that every young player they insert into the lineup is going to be as good as the player they're replacing. I think that would be foolish to think that, but seeing what Fangio and that staff did last year, I think you can at least have some sense that they're going to be able to develop these young guys.
Dave, I have a feeling I know which player you're going to name, but which of the young players currently slotted for an expanded role are you most looking forward to seeing?
Oh, well, so most looking forward to seeing is not saying they're going to be the best player. Mm-hmm. I want to make that clear. I think I'm most looking forward to watching Sidney Brown play just because it's a fun play style. But if you're asking me which guy I'm confident in, I really do like Jalix Hunt. I saw him improve week over week. The growth from him from week 1 last year where he was a healthy scratch to where he was in the playoffs was pretty remarkable. I don't know if he's going to be a starter this year, but I think he's going to play an awful lot, and I think he needs to. I think the ceiling for him is very, very high. I'm excited to see him play. Who did you think I was going to say there?
I thought you were going to say Kelee Ringo. I know you're a Kelee guy.
I am. It is so funny because Kelee Ringo and Sidney Brown, to me, I've gotten this sense that a lot of fans are kind of off them right now, and I don't really understand that.
Yeah.
I don't think they deserve that. Look, maybe they don't work out, but I think a lot of fans are really excited about those two players not that long ago, right? You had Keely Ringo was a fourth-round pick. Everyone thought maybe he's a first-round pick. The Eagles trade back up in day 3 to get him. He plays quite a bit as a rookie, and then in year 2 they draft Quinyon Mitchell, they draft Cooper DeJean, and they get Isaiah Rodgers back from suspension, so he gets pushed down the depth chart. He's still really young. He still has all the tools that he had a few years ago, so I don't know why everyone's kind of, I shouldn't say everyone, it's probably a very vocal minority, but it seems like people are out on Keely Ringo. And then Sidney Brown played a little bit as a rookie. Like I mentioned, that 2023 season was his rookie year, where I think the coaching staff was pretty ill-equipped to develop young talent. Half of his snaps were in the slot, which I don't think is really his position in the NFL. And then he suffers an ACL tear. So he misses all the spring, he misses all the summer. So people who are looking at him saying he couldn't even get on the field ahead of Tristan McCollum, I mean, they didn't start off on the same footing, right? Sidney Brown missed all of the spring, all of the summer, missed the first 5 weeks of the season. I don't think Vic Fangio is just going to throw him in the fire. So I don't know what either of those guys are ultimately going to be in the NFL, but I don't think people should be ready to jump ship on either of them right now.
Agreed.
Nobody's jumping ship on anybody around here.
Come on
Isn't
now,
that a
Rick.
great thing?
Yeah. You know how it goes.
I mean, I got to tell you, how about if I just said to you that I was a little shocked when Howie came out in the combine and told everybody that he wasn't going to do anything and everybody should be patient. Am I one of the few who's actually shocked that he's told us the truth?
No. Well, maybe. I don't think you should be shocked, because I think he wanted it to be known, because he was trying to avoid a situation where everyone is shocked, right? Like, I think you try to get ahead of this and warn the fan base a little bit that this is going to be a different type of offseason. He even talked about, like, trying to be creative. And that's what you have to do when you're in a situation like the Eagles are in, with a really top-heavy roster, all these expensive players on the team, especially on offense. You have to try to start winning on the margins. And that means, like, taking all these lottery ticket type of signings. It means playing the compensatory pick game to load up on those assets, because the more lottery tickets you have, the better chances you have to win in the draft. So I think he was trying to warn everybody to avoid a situation where the sky is falling on day 1 of free agency, when, you know, their players are getting signed elsewhere and they're not doing much.
We saw the numbers on Josh Uche. What are your expectations of him, Dave?
Yeah, it's tough to have super high expectations. I think there's talent in there, certainly, but I also think it's a mistake to look at that 2022 season and say, oh, man, they got a steal. He had 11.5 sacks not that long ago. He's going to do it again, because that season honestly is an outlier in his career, but I still think there's some talent in there. We saw it in week 1 of the 2023 season when the Eagles played the Patriots. I thought he had a really nice game. I went back and watched it a couple days ago. He had a nice, like, hurry sack on Jalen Hurts, a good effort sack from him, and then he had a really nice pass rush move on Lane Johnson. Thought he did some good things in that game. I think it's at least a baseline. I think it's something they can fall back on, but there are plenty of cautionary tales of veterans coming in that you think might be able to contribute. Like last year, think about Julian Okwara. It wasn't that long ago where they brought in a veteran who had some success in the league, and it just didn't work out here. So I think that there's something there, but you can't count on it. And that's kind of like all these signings, honestly. And that's why you play this game and you sign so many of them, because you're trying to just supplement a top-heavy roster. And the more guys you sign like this, the better your chances are of hitting on 1 or 2 of them.
Dave, we always appreciate you. Always love you on a Friday afternoon.
All right, guys. It's good talking to you. I'm enjoying free agency so far. Hope everyone else is too.
Appreciate the time, Dave.
That's Dave Zangaro on the from NBC Sports Philadelphia.
Thanks so much, everybody, for watching. Really appreciate it. If you want more of this content, make sure you like and subscribe. And, you know, you can do that kind of over here if you want more of the best show ever.